know anything about the bike brand Surly, you know they're well known for making no-nonsense steel bikes. And this ranges from utilitarian commuters up to some kind of weird trail shredding 29 plus bikes. But that's not the only thing they're well known for. They're actually well known for some of the handlebars that they make. The Moloko bar is one of those bars that they're well known for. It's a multiple hand position alternative flat bar that is great for long days over varying terrain. I bought the Molokos about a year ago to convert my Karate Monkey into more of a gravel grinder, and I love those bars. They were such a good alternative to getting a drop bar setup. Last summer though, Surly announced the Corner Bar, a drop bar that was meant for mountain bike shifters and brakes. So a little bit of a game changer. It took me a little while to get my hands on the corner bars, but I've been using those for the last couple of months. Now that I have experience on both the Moloko and the corner bar, I thought it'd be good to do a comparison video to talk about the pros and cons to each, because I think that a lot of people consider these as they're either converting a mountain bike over to a gravel bike or just as a different setup for their gravel bike. I'll start off by saying if you're looking for more of an in-depth review of each bar individually, I have separate videos for that. So I put the links down in the description. Go check those out if that's more of what you're looking for. In this video, I'm mostly going to be talking about how they compare across different categories like comfort or control. So let's get into it. Both of these bars are fairly comfortable, and that's one thing that Surly had in mind when they made them. The Molokos, though, take the cake. They are by far the most comfortable out of the two. They give you a fairly relaxed riding position, and they have a lot of different hand positions. You can be on the grips, you can choke up a little bit on the grips, you can kind of be grabbing onto the sides of the loop, on the back of the loop, the front of the loop, the horns. There's just endless hand positions. That makes them really comfortable for all-day rides where your hands would get numb or tired being in the same position the whole time. The corner bars also have multiple hand positions, but they really only have 2 or 3 that are really comfortable. And I'll admit, I didn't like riding in the drops on traditional drop bars. So on these, they have a really shallow drop. It doesn't go down super far, and they're flared quite a bit. And I really like those. They're pretty comfortable. It's somewhat comparable to the Salsa wood chipper. If you really like the wood chipper, or you've ridden those before, then you'll probably find that you like these. It has a very similar flare. The drop's a little bit different, but they're pretty close. When it comes to control, I've actually been pretty impressed with the corner bars, and I attribute that mostly to the width that they have. I have the 54 centimeter versions. That's the widest they sell, and that 54 centimeters is between the hoods, the 2 little things that stick out. So when you go all the way out on the flared part, it measures 712 millimeters, which is, that's in mountain bike territory. So when things get really technical or a little rough, you still feel pretty in control because you're out there pretty wide and it doesn't get super twitchy. That said, the Molokos still have more control. It's just more of a mountain bike setup where you're out even wider. They're 735 millimeters wide. I know some people cut them down, but I like that width. It's quite a bit narrower than I run my mountain bikes, but different purpose. There's a reason that mountain bikes don't use drop bars. It's just not as easy to maneuver when your hands are in a little bit narrower and they're more at this angle instead of this. There's a huge difference, and it also, I've noticed that when it comes to something maybe really technical, say having to lift the front tire up onto a rock or get it through a rock garden like that, it's not nearly as easy on a drop bar versus a flat bar. This does only apply though with the Molokos if you're out wide. If you go into any of those other hand positions where you're on the loop, you're on the horns, something like that, you're in really narrow, and so it feels pretty twitchy. You're not going to want to be in those hand positions when you're in something pretty technical. Another reason for that is that you are not able to access the brakes. You can really only access the brakes on the Molokos if you are holding on to the out wide on the grips, or sometimes I'll clamp my hands kind of over the brakes themselves and I can access it from there, but that's still pretty narrow. So if for you, control is more about being able to brake if that's something that you need to do, you might actually like the corner bar better because you're able to access it from two positions, the hoods and down in the drop. And either of those positions isn't quite as twitchy, so the corner bars might win out if you care more about your braking ability than your ability to maneuver. So I live in Montana, and while it's not quite as windy as our neighbors in Wyoming, it's still pretty windy. And so something that was important to me when looking at bars for riding on gravel, I wanted to be able to have some sort of aero position. Maybe not necessarily a true aero position where you're super tucked in, but something to where I wasn't having to be super out wide and just have my shoulders open and acting as a sail. That's one reason I really liked the Molokos, was I was able to reach in, grab onto the horns, and it would bring my shoulders in a little bit narrower. I was tucked up, I was leaning over more. I really like that about the Molokos. The corner bars though, take that to a whole nother level. In general, it's a more aggressive riding position, especially since they're meant to be mostly ridden in the drops. So your hands are reaching down a little bit farther. That really just enables you to tuck more out of the wind when you really need to. Another thing with the corner bars is that you can actually add true aero bars or tri-bars, whatever you want to call them, where they mount onto the top of the bar and then they have a pad for your forearms and then you grab onto the little rods that stick out. You can use those on the corner bar if you want. So while neither of these bars allow you to get into as aerodynamic of a position as normal drop bars, they're still able to give you something that's a lot better than if you were to use just a traditional flat bar. This one's a little hard to admit, but one thing that is important is aesthetics. The way that those bars make your bike look. And I'm just gonna say it, the corner bars just look better than the Molokos do. There's something about a drop bar on a bike that has big meaty tires, either that's, even a 50mm tire looks really good with these drop bars. It just looks super aggressive and ready to handle anything. The Molokos, on the other hand, probably don't get the same look, the same reaction. It's kind of this weird looking bar with a really swept back on the outside and then a big loop in the middle and some little dinky horns that stick up. They're not quite as cool looking. I happen to think they look kind of cool. It looks like really a utilitarian, ready to go tackle anything, but they're not quite as cool looking as the drop bars. So if you really only care about form over function, you're probably gonna like the corner bars better. That drop bar look is just hard to beat. So here's the real question, which bar is right for you? In my mind, if you're gonna be riding more dirt, and say that could be everything from maintained gravel to double track to maybe some single track in there, and it just you don't know what you're gonna hit, but you're mostly off-road, I would say for sure go with the Molokos. It's really hard to beat the control that you get there. You do still get an aero position, and it's just a little more comfortable. You're in a more relaxed riding position, and also you're able to, like I said earlier, it's easier to maneuver in really technical, slow sections. You can pop the tire up easier, stuff like that. On the other hand, if you're sticking to terrain that is generally going to be faster, so something smooth, maybe you've got a lot of pavement in there or well-maintained gravel roads, and you can hit some technical stuff, some rough stuff, you'll do fine on the corner bars. They put you in a more aggressive riding position pretty much the whole time, and they're really good to get you just in the mode to just put some miles down and do it quickly. But again, the corner bar does still feel good when things get pretty rough. I feel more confident on these drop bars in technical situations than any other ones I've tried in the past, but the Molokos are gonna beat them out if that's the thing that you're the most worried about. So I hope you enjoyed this comparison of these two bars, and let me know down in the comments what you think about them. Have you used either of them? What do you think? Do you think the corner bar's super weird? Kind of is, but let me know down in the comments. And I'm, for one, am glad that Surly makes these. I think it allows me to just tinker, which I love to do, and I think I'm gonna try switching between them as my needs change. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, be sure to go check some of my other ones out. I've got a lot of gravel content, fat bike content, plus bikes. I love riding, all sorts of different things. So go check those out, and if you enjoy what you see, then be sure to subscribe. But But either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.